Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Patience. Thank you, Venerable Jingho, for your greeting. Patience, dear friends, is, of course, as many of you will know, considered to be a great virtue in the Buddhist world. In the teachings of the Buddha, it's described as a parami, one of the 10 or the 6 virtues that we need to develop in order to be able to make progress spiritually. And it's such a beautiful quality, isn't it? The ability to stay steady, the ability to maybe be calm amidst energies that might be pushing and propelling and compelling us, to be able to not react to these energies, but to be steady and to be able to just wait, just pause, give some time, give some space. When things are intense, patience comes to the fore. Under pressure, stress, in kind of emergency situations, when unexpected difficulties arise, these are the times when patience really comes to the fore. And with anger, if we are irritable, angry, even enraged, these energies, these very compelling energies of anger can really lead us astray. And with patience, we can learn to hold, to check, to breathe deep and stay steady and stay still with anger, with any kind of negativity, with any kind of reactivity. Patience is that which enables us to slow down and consider and reflect before we act or speak. And so this quality is something that is to be developed, isn't it? And we all have different degrees, perhaps, of this ability to see what's happening, to feel what's happening before we have the knee-jerk response, before we lash out, before we say something unfortunate. But whatever our abilities, whatever our degree of patience that we have developed, there's always more. There's always more opportunities. The Buddha described this quality, Khanti Parami, in the Pali language. He described it as the highest austerity. And that's very interesting to me, because there's the connotation of renunciation there, you know. It's the giving up of the wish to jump forward, to put ourselves out there, to act on the anger, which often, if we're upset about something, we do feel we have to put it right quite often, don't we? We have to say that thing to that person. We have to do something now. But actually, so often, isn't it the case that we do much better, we serve more fully, we avoid harm by not acting or speaking when there is any kind of compulsion in the mind, any kind of reactivity, any heat. And, we have to learn this, don't we? Because, children are trained from a very young age to not have tantrums, to not demand, to not create hostility in others through their unskillful behavior. And yet, the learning really needs to continue for us throughout our lives. And, we can notice that as people get older, it can become more challenging to, there's a kind of vulnerability. So to notice the irritability creeping in, to notice maybe our views becoming quite entrenched, held to, so that we feel we have to assert our views and make them known to others and act upon them. As we grow older, these can become more issues for us. When we're young, we're fairly receptive and we're still learning. But the mind has a tendency to fixate and to throw up views and opinions through our lives. We always have to be on guard. We always have to be careful. And patience is, enables us to reflect and pause, as I've said, and to avoid quick judgments, avoid acting without careful consideration. And we can see, can't we, in the world around us, so many situations where due to a lack of mindfulness, really, due to a lack of the ability to be present for ourselves, people who are traumatized, people who are acting out. We see this in the news every day. And of course, so much harm happens because of this kind of reactivity and the inability to process and to make peace within. And I can understand it very well. I'm sure you can too, how, we get overwhelmed. Somebody harms me or my friend or my family, and I just want to put things right, to get revenge. And it's a very natural response, very animal, normal, protective response for a human body, a human heart. We're part of the animal realm, after all. But what makes us truly human is the ability to reflect and consider virtue, consider the danger of harm. We have conscience. We have fear of wrongdoing. We all have this capacity, don't we? And yet we can have great compassion when we lose the plot or others lose their ability to discern, lose the wisdom that tells us killing is great, great harm for both ourselves and others. Stealing creates so much trauma for ourselves and others. Untruth, lying, deceit, so harmful. And when we can actually, as Buddhists, put our precepts, these simple guidelines, not to kill, not to steal, not to lie, not to become confused with drugs or alcohol, not to commit sexual misconduct, all these ways we can cause harm. When we have the 5 precepts as our practice, make it our priority, then this really guides us. This really helps us to keep energies in check. And as we follow the precepts and we try to, refine and purify them, which is always a work in progress, there's always more to be done in this regard, more to consider in this regard. But when we have this practice of refining the precepts and paying attention to them and making them a priority, then of course we have a chance to develop patience. It's going to be required. And so to be a truly human person, we are patient. We are able to withstand the worldly winds, the praise and blame, the pleasure and pain, the loss and disrepute, all the ways in which we can really suffer, and yet we don't have to create more harm, more suffering as a result. This is a high practice, isn't it, friends? Actually, the Buddha gave us the example in the simile of the saw, graphic example of how far this goes. Even if bandits seize you and tie you down and saw off your limbs one by one with a two-handled saw, if you have even a trace of animosity towards them, then you're not following my teachings. Not only is this encouraging us not to be vengeful, not to allow any trace of animosity to enter our hearts, whatever the provocation. Not only that, but he's telling us that the only way forward really is to develop a heart of loving kindness. And this is something to really deeply consider. Whenever the mind throws up judgment, blame, hatred even towards those who harm and hurt, may they be well, may they find peace, may they realize the pain that they're causing themselves and others. A heart of compassion arises. And only through patience can we come to this point. We need to be able to sit, to be, to feel the suffering that's going on around us, and then the mind of judgment will fall away. There's no place for judgment. Who am I to judge? What do I know? I can only feel and understand the simple teachings. To do good gives a good result, happiness here and now and beyond. And harm creates so much suffering here and now and also beyond. And, anyone who harms another is deeply distressed, deeply confused. And so we can patiently endure very much, very much. Remember the simile of the saw, and let's not allow even a trace of animosity or vengefulness, judgment or anger to linger. They can arise. That's not something to berate ourselves about. Negative reactivity can arise as a result of seeing or hearing or even experiencing ourselves some harm. But we don't want to nourish these qualities. We don't want to feed them. We don't want to develop them. No, we want to develop patience. We want to develop loving kindness. We want to develop compassion. And so this is like an opportunity every day, isn't it? Every day. And if not in our own lives, if life's going smoothly and well, that's wonderful. But then we open our hearts to the world around us. And every day there are many opportunities to develop, keep developing, to be a true human being and contribute. contribute to this field of awareness. Not a moment of kindness or a moment of patient endurance is wasted, my dear friends. Every moment that we develop these good qualities, we're improving, we're helping, we're encouraging others, and of course ourselves, first and foremost, here and now. So these are just a few words on the topic of patience. Ewan.